Welcome. In this video, I'm going to share 4 ways children learn how to cope in life being raised by emotionally immature parents. But first, don't forget to give me a thumbs up or leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. Hi, I'm Dr. D. I'm a clinical psychologist and relationship therapist, and I work with individuals and couples who want to learn how to create healthier, more sustainable relationships in life, whether that be with a partner or a spouse, a child, a family member, a friend, or even a coworker. I also help people who are going through a separation or divorce improve how they communicate around co-parenting issues, among other things, with their soon-to-be ex. And finally, I help people find more joy and purpose in their life and overcome challenges. So let's get started. Emotionally immature parents fear emotional closeness and genuine emotion. Their parenting style is inconsistent and emotionally unreliable. What they lack in self-reflection, they make up with self-centeredness because their feelings and agenda come first. They blame others and rarely, if ever, apologize. And as a result, children must learn how to cope. Although using any of these coping mechanisms is beneficial to the child, as an adult it does continue to hinder development because our upbringing affects us in several ways. From her book, Adult Children Emotionally Immature Parents, Dr. Gibson offers 4 ways children learn how to cope in this kind of environment. 1. They create healing fantasies. They come up with a fantasy about how they will eventually get what they need. They create a story that helps them make sense of their world, who they are, and what life means to them. The healing fantasy is a story filled with hope that they tell themselves, and they believe that they will truly find happiness one day. They come to believe if they can change, then their unhappiness, loneliness, and pain will dissipate. For example, if only I was something, then my parents would be more loving, available, and attentive towards me. They come to believe that if they continue to work harder and persevere, eventually they will get the approval they never received from their parents. Or they come to believe that their partner will be able to fill the loneliness and that emptiness they feel because they have like a hole in their heart. 2. They develop a role self. Because the child is never allowed to really be their true self, for example, being able to express their thoughts and feelings and receive validation, they develop a role self. They believe they have to act a certain way or that their parent wouldn't know what to do without them. For example, some children take on a caretaker role, or they might become the helpful child. They learn to forego the things that are important to them because they need to maintain the role self they have created as they continue to long for love, emotional safety, and security in hopes of winning their parents' love and affection. Unfortunately, their true self is buried deep below and not allowed to come out. And it will remain hidden until the child becomes an adult and does the work to honor their true self and living their life that aligns with whom they really are. When their authentic self is hidden, they become invisible, and that's how they feel. As an adult, it will be easy for them to take on the same role they had growing up. And if they are not sure who they really are or what their needs and desires are, it'll be hard for them to articulate them, for their partner to really understand who they are, because they really don't know themselves. And it makes them hard to build stable and healthy relationships. And sometimes, in many of these situations, they become codependent. 3. They become the internalizer. Here are 7 signs of an internalizer. They are self-reflective. They like to learn and solve problems. They believe they keep working harder, things will get better. And instinctively, they take responsibility for solving problems on their own. 2. They feel they are the problem. They tend to think that they are the problem and that that's the very nature, and their very nature is the problem. They believe it's up to them to change things in order to get their needs met. 3. They are highly sensitive. They register when their parents are not connecting with them, and they are more aware of their feelings of loneliness and are more alert to other people's inner states and how they are feeling. They often appear overly sensitive or too emotionally needy, and people might say that about them. 4. They feel anxiety and guilt. They feel anxious or guilty when they displease others or others are thinking that they are an imposter. They tend to over self-sacrifice in a relationship and then become resentful of how much they do for others. 5. They are responsible. They tend to take on too much responsibility for problems in others when they surface and then blame themselves, even if they don't even deserve it. They become extremely independent and not needing or relying on others. 6. They suffer in silence. They tend to suffer in silence and look fine on the outside, but inside they're crumbling. People are less inclined to help internalizers because they don't present as needing help, even though they do. They are viewed as the strong ones. They become the low-maintenance child in the home. And 7, they lack boundaries and self-care. They don't know how to have boundaries or balance between their needs and the needs of others. And many adults continue to do the emotional work of the relationship and focus on their partner's needs. They believe if they continue to self-sacrifice and do the emotional work, they can transform their unsatisfying relationship. And the 4-3 children cope, they become the externalizer. And here are 5 signs of an externalizer. 1, they act first and then they think. They are often reactive and impulsive to get rid of their anxiety. They are seldom self-reflective and blame others and circumstances instead of recognizing how their actions have affected the situation. They don't take responsibility for their mistakes. 2, they lack change and insight. They believe that change must come from the outside world and others in order for them to have happiness and joy. They look to others to blame and really doesn't have anything to do with them. They make excuses for their behaviors. 3, they are impulsive. Their impulsivity is frequently very disruptive for others, and then the others have to pick up the pieces. They are often attracted to impulsive people like them and are overly dependent on others for emotional and mental support and stability, as they don't know how to manage it internally or intrinsically on their own. They act out their anxiety, pain, and depression. 4, they look outside of self. They depend on things outside or external from them to help soothe them. And they might also have like an addictive type of relationship or issues with substances, or they need immediate gratification. Now, the advantage of acting out this way is that their pain and distress is visible. And 5, they use denial. When they have to face the consequences of their behaviors, they experience brief feelings of shame and a sense of failure. They use denial to avoid feelings of shame or wondering how they could change. They look to others to feel better and seldom, if ever, find ways to have more self-control. A child raised by an emotionally immature parent has to find ways to cope in order to survive. For most, it's either creating a real self or a fantasy, or either internalizing or externalizing their problems. Regardless, these coping mechanisms have proven beneficial as a child, but no longer do as an adult. And continuing these types of behaviors prevents further healthy development. In my next video, I will share how you can start to heal and recover from being raised by emotionally immature parents. So stay tuned. And always, don't forget to give me a thumbs up or leave a comment. I would love to hear from you. And thank you.